Welcome back to Left, Right and Centre. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government has been in power for 3 days, but he's already held meetings with 8 heads of state. He's had 2 cabinet meetings. Today, he asked his ministers to prepare a 100-day agenda and establish their priorities. He also outlined a 10-point charter that talks about empowering and freeing the bureaucracy, removing hurdles in the way of growth and reform. We're asking tonight, has this government hit the ground running, or has it perhaps bitten off a little more than it can chew? Salman Soz, I'm going to come to you straight away. Are we seeing a new urgency here that was perhaps rather lacking in the previous administration?
I mean, this is a new government. These are the first days. Of course, if they don't even do anything right now, I mean, show some urgency. When are they going to show it? You know, governance is about, in some ways, maintaining a certain amount of pace. But to the extent that this government wants to kind of come up with these points of, you know, let's do this and let's do that, that's fine. However, my personal feeling is that substance is more important than the style. I know that Mr. Modi is very stylish, but the substance of his 10-point agenda, if I'm not mistaken, the word health is perhaps missing, and perhaps you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think health really found space in this 10-point agenda. Do you know? I mean, can you confirm, because I just came in before.
But he has talked about education. He has talked about energy. He has talked about other priorities.
You see, this is what happens. Yes, you see, that's what happens when you hurry up. When you hurry up, you make some tremendous mistakes, and the biggest mistake, to my mind, is to not even talk about health. Which, by the way, if you remember or recall, the Congress had said that we're going to put in the right to health here, and health, education, and then other things are follow. But I think they should certainly revise this thing, because let's not be in such a tearing hurry that you actually forget the basics.
You're saying
that this continues.
You've also talked about the tearing hurry in having an ordinance to bring in the man Prime Minister Modi wanted as his principal secretary.
Yeah, well, you know, again, you know, the Parliament is going to be convened, I believe, on the 4th of June. And again, the Prime Minister has shown a tearing hurry in just getting, you know, basically flouting all sorts of things and just go with the ordinance route for one official who's a principal secretary, yes, but I'm sure Mr. Modi has so many good people around him. I'm sure there are so many good officers in our country.
Okay, Pinky Anand,
for the time being, he could have had an interim officer.
Okay, Pinky Anand, respond to that. You know, Narendra Modi saying no to nepotism in a very big way when he talked about, he asked ministers to choose from the general pool for people who were going to be part of their personal staff. But then, you know, also changing the law to have the man that he wants. The Congress now saying, why not wait? Even if you have the numbers, why not wait for Parliament to be in session?
No, I don't understand this at all, Ankita. The question of whether the Parliament should be in session or not be in session, if there is a particular person who is preferred and with whom somebody shares a degree of confidence, who has proved himself in various departments and ministries, and you want him there around because there is this tearing urgency. Congress has left this country in a bankruptcy in its 10 years of rule, and the whole idea for the time being is to revive the economy, you know, put aside the inflation, the food inflation, the GDP rate that has gone down so badly. These are the issues that are staring us in the face, and this 10-point agenda is not the only agenda which the BJP intends to take forward or Modi ji plans to take forward. This is prioritizing some of the issues, and further issues will be prioritized from time to time. So there's no question. So Mr. Salman Soz's argument that what is a tearing hurry to come up with an agenda, well, there was a tearing hurry. We are facing complete economic devastation if we don't. The country is because of what the UPA has done in its 10 years. So let us, Salman, keep it at that. As far as that issue is concerned, of haste is for progress, haste is for development. You possibly cannot have a grievance.
Okay, Salman Soz, I'd also like to remind you that the UPA in 2009 had come up with its own 100-day plan, but then it faltered rather badly. So in fact, by asking his ministers to come up with their own 100-day plans rather than dictating one to them, has Prime Minister Modi actually finessed his critics like you?
You see, Pinky Anand ji is trying to kind of wriggle out of this thing, and by kind of misquoting me. I'm not at all saying that they should not show haste. They should. They should show haste, and they are doing that. But there are two things. If you take the ordinance per se, what's the hurry in that? Come on. I mean, he's a very good officer. There's
What
no,
is the problem with that? Ordinances
please,
are
please,
meant to deal with the situation.
Miss Pinky
which requires
Anand,
immediate
Miss
urgency.
Pinky Anand,
And if Mr.
Miss
Modi
Pinky
likes to
Anand, I have
work with the
repeatedly
Political
asked you,
Secretary,
please do not
you have no
interrupt me.
aspersions
For
against
God's
him.
sake,
So why
Miss
is there objection?
Anand,
You bring
Miss
ordinances
Anand,
for
I will tell you one more
Give us
time.
some liberty
Miss-
to have people of our choice.
Okay, I'm going to open this up now.
Miss
D.
Anand,
D.
may I-
Raja,
may-
National
no,
Secretary
no,
of the
please,
CPI,
I mean,
also joining us at this point.
Is it
Mr.
appropriate?
Raja,
Is it
okay.
appropriate for Miss? Wait a second. Is it appropriate for Miss Pinky Anand to shout me down and then you go to somebody else?
Okay, Salman,
Is that the way we conduct debates? Miss Anand, I request you, please do not interrupt me. This is unfair. I never interrupt you, and
Why
you
don't you
interrupt
say
me.
what you have to
That's
say?
very unfair.
Salman Soz, if I can
And
get
to
a
say
question
that-
into
No,
my
but why
other
don't you let me
panelists, then
speak?
we will come back to you for your
Why
response
don't you
in a
let
moment.
me speak?
Okay.
I'm just saying, Miss Pinky Anand, that he's an officer that we're not saying anything about his credibility. But why go the ordinance route when you have Parliament coming in 5 days or 6 days? I mean, come on. And as far as Mr. Modi is
Would
concerned,
you
he
be satisfied
he
if it is
should
done
have
after
a
5
good
days? That would
plan.
be satisfactory to you.
Please let me finish, for God's sake. Please let me finish. Do you have no patience?
I am going to open
I'm
this up
saying
now.
that
This
he
is
should be
this
in
is
a
the
hurry.
point again
He
and
should be
again.
in a hurry.
Okay.
But
Mr.
in
Soz,
his hurry, he's
I'm going
forgotten
to
health.
throw this open
How many
now.
other
D.
things is he
Raja,
going-
D.
is he
Raja,
going
this
to
question
forget?
is to you. First, the propriety of using an ordinance even before Parliament is in session. To have a man that Narendra Modi wants as his principal secretary. But also, I wanted to reflect on the larger picture, these top 10 priorities that have been outlined by the government, removing hurdles in growth and reforms. Do you see this as a government that has hit the ground running?
No, Mr. Modi has a very decisive mandate. He need not be in a hurry. He can take up the issues on priority basis. Parliament is convened and there will be the President's address to the joint session of the Parliament. President address will outline the policy directives or the pronouncements of their priorities to the nation, and we will have to wait for the President's address. That only that will indicate government's priorities in actual terms. Now, what is happening before the Parliament session is something everybody should think over. BJP also should think over. All other political parties will have to think over. What I understand, the PMO is emerging as a all-powerful power center that we should take note. It is Ms. Modi who takes all the decisions, and he is going to be there as a strong head of the government, and the PMO is going to work as all-powerful center. That is where they are trying to choose their own officer to be the principal secretary. I have no problem with an individual, but
Right.
the problem
Okay.
is
I think that's an important-
try. No, let
Yes.
me finish. Let
Yes.
me finish. Try is there. It is an act of parliament. It needs to be amended. And what happens to similar parliament acts? So when you choose the ordinance route, you should have thought of other consequences, other implications. Here, I think the government is yet to give a convincing reply why this ordinance route. And as far as 100 days priorities, even Congress talked about the first 100 days, what ministries should do, what ministers. It is not something, anything spectacular or new in Indian Parliament, because even the UPA 2 government talked about first 100 days, what are the issues that ministries will have to take up. So that is not the issue. The issue is how the country is going to be run. It is question of governance. When you talk about less government, more governance, what exactly the BJP means and Mr. Modi means, that people should know, the country should know.
Empowering the Prime Minister's office to take major policy decisions, are you seeing an immediate sort of consolidation in a sense of a centralization of decision making here?
I think, he's cracking the whip, he's setting the pace. So I would say, yes, he's hit the ground running. as you said, 8 SAARC country heads, to start with that kind of a mega initiative, and then even a thing like setting up the SIT to look at the black money part of it, even though it was under the diktat of the Supreme Court, but appointment of the judge and getting on with it, which is something the UPA could have done but did not do. He's giving a very clear signal to people who voted him in that I mean business, getting his ministers to come at 9 a.m., telling them that you cannot have your staff cannot have staff which includes your family members. These are very simple but symbolic things. So he is showing that yes, I am the boss, I mean business, and we're going to get on with it. I'm a man in a hurry. And yet, there is the other side of it where the PMO is going to be all powerful. He said, I will be in charge of all policy matters. It's not going to be, you cannot have retro tax without the Prime Minister being informed about it, or ministries being run like fiefdoms. So everything, even his 10-point program that is rolled out today, implicit in it is the role the PMO is going to have. So it's going to be it's a powerful Prime Minister and therefore a powerful PMO. But given that, I think he need not have made these false moves, ordinance route for the Principal Secretary. It could have, a way could have been found to get around it. A reinstatement of jail single, these are unnecessary
things. That was again a Gujarat government decision, as the BJP has been pointing out to us through the course of this program.
Also in the affidavit of Smriti Irani. I'm not one of those who feels that I think she's a very capable person.
So you're saying there have been high notes, but there have been low notes as well.
Avoidable controversies and things that Smriti Irani could make a statement on and put it behind her. So I think, and yet one must say that, those who make decisions are the ones who make mistakes. Those who do nothing will never make mistakes.
Salman Soz, those who make decisions can make mistakes, but, perhaps not making any decisions at all can be a far bigger mistake. How do you respond?
Well, this criticism of the UPA government that it didn't make any decisions, people have their opinion, but, I believe in facts, and the fact remains that in the 10 years of the UPA government, the economy has actually gone from number 10 in the world to number 3 in the world. I think that's the biggest kind of marker for any developing country, and our country has done pretty well that way. But as far as Mr. Modi's 10-point program, 100 days priority is concerned, it's fine. I mean, like Mr. Raja said, UPA government had this agenda as well. But what happens is that when you're trying to do things in a hurry and you're trying to put a lot of focus on administrative kind of efficiency and all that, you forget the big picture. And the big picture for this country, this developing country with lots of poor people, is that it has to have strong foundations. And to my mind, strong foundations come from health and education, and then you start building up. And I think in their hurry, they forgot health. They only talk about education. And even in education, they should recognize what the UP has done and then build up. So the other part is, by the way, the 10 points that they talk about, some of these points are just generic points. People-centered government. What does that mean? All governments are supposed to be people-centered.
One point that is right on top of this so-called 10-point agenda is building confidence in the bureaucracy and empowering the bureaucracy and giving it freedom. Do you see that as a reflection on the way the bureaucracy has functioned in the last 10 years?
No, if you look at what the UPA government has done in terms of the 6th and the 7th pay commissions and tenures and other, giving the bureaucracy a lot more kind of freedom to do the work. So I think what the proof is in the pudding. How can they make that? On the one hand, Mr. Modi wants all his ministers to be totally under his control, and then at the same time he wants to give bureaucrats all the freedom. I mean, is that consistency or is that inconsistency?
Right. Yes,
and by the way, speaking of consistency, he talks about consistency of policies. I understand that the NDA government is going to roll back FDI in multi-brand retail, which the previous government at the central government level had had brought in. What is the investor going to think? I think this is going to be dangerous. That is not consistency of policy. That is inconsistency of policy.
D. Raja, go ahead.
No, actually, the need of the hour is that our bureaucracy must be more people-friendly. Bureaucracy must be concerned with, sensitive towards the sufferings and problems of our people. That's what I look at it, look at our bureaucracy. Bureaucracy cannot be made more bureaucratic and authoritative in the name of infusing confidence in them. So one should be very careful because when you talk of good governance, what do we mean by good governance? If the government doesn't have concerns for the toiling people, the ordinary people of this country. So this is one point. I agree with Nirja when she was talking about how the Prime Minister's office emerging as all powerful. Even I did say that. The point here is in their hurry, what has happened, they have created a controversy on Article 370 and the people of Jammu and Kashmir are agitating, the political parties in Jammu and Kashmir are agitating, and on one side the Prime Minister talks about everything will be done in the spirit of federalism, the priorities of the states will be given top priority and addressed by the central government. But on the other hand, what is happening? That's what we should take note. So Parliament should be taken into confidence. Parliament is supreme. Whether a government has a massive mandate or ordinary weak mandate, Parliament is supreme finally. And Parliament should be taken into confidence, and government will have to do whatever it wants to do, taking the Parliament into confidence, not bypassing Parliament.